Hello you, welcome to Geekism and welcome to this overview of the Parades Pack coming to Planet Coaster 2 on June 25th. That's right, it's the best kept secret in all of gaming. The next DLC for Planet Coaster 2 is Parades. Thank you, as always, to Frontier for letting me take an early look at this. I got invited to a special screening of an overview of this DLC, where Messrs. Newbold and Shaw took us around the park that you're looking at here on the trailer, gave us a good deep dive into everything that's coming, which I'm going to go over with you now. Okay, we'll start off with the scenery then. Scenery is working a little different this time. It's kind of split into two major sections. First of all, there is more of a traditional scenery theme. There's walls, windows, doors and roofs and bits to go with it. And then there is a second scenery theme that's focused around the parades that we'll talk about in just a moment. But first of all, the main scenery theme is the small town scenery theme, and this is Main Street USA through the back door. It definitely seems to be that the DLCs in Planet Coaster 2 are really sort of tying into a real life area of theme parks and, in everything but IP. So Sorcery Pack was very sort of Wizarding World coded, Toy Box was very Toy Story Land coded, and obviously the small town scene that you're looking at here is clearly Main Street USA, found in pretty much all of the Magic Kingdom Disney parks. There are 3 wall sets included. The first one is one that they called Heritage Brick, although it does actually have a bit of a shine to it and looks a little bit, to me, more like a subway tile, sort of a classic subway tile that's recolorable. Then there's a larger slab wall, which looks like to be more of a marble brick, and then there is a classic sort of American slat wood as well. They all look fantastic. 3 really well-developed and useful wall sets. Very excited to have those. Those then come with some very lovely columns. I'm very excited to see Minerals Column Watch for those. Then obviously windows, dormers, lots of roof pieces. It was difficult to really see how these roof pieces break up into separate pieces. There will be a full scenery overview on the channel as soon as I'm allowed to share that with you. As you expect, we will lay out every single piece and we can have a good sort of look at this. But one thing I'm sure you're noticing is the beautiful amount of wrought iron. Very happy to see this stuff. I think this is incredibly useful in multiple different themes, and it looks to be very usable, customizable, small pieces, big pieces, colorable. Obviously the scalability makes a big difference as well. Very excited to get my hands on some of that wrought iron. A lot of Meanderville's Main Street is done now. I may go back in and retrofit some of this stuff just to play around with it, but then also we're going to be working on Zephyrberg, which is a Steam/Arcane Punk area where obviously this sort of stuff is going to be incredibly useful, so excited to see what we can do with that. As well as all of the scenery, they also showed off a new set of Barbershop Quartet animatronics. They look fantastic, although they do still have the sticks up their butts. There is a new entertainer by the name of Mayor Pip Whistle. Comes in both a masculine and feminine design. They have a very sort of parade leader, band leader kind of look to them, a little bit carnival barker, and their top hat is a sort of running motif through some of the details. It's features on the back of the benches, I noticed. A couple of the wrought iron pieces have it as well. I don't mind this sort of stuff as long as it's understated enough that we can sort of hide it within the scenes that we're working on. There's also 19 new fireworks coming to the game as well. Okay, that's the scenery. Let's have a look at parades. I think it's worth mentioning that we have waited a little longer for this DLC than we have done previously, and it is a little bit more expensive, which is something we'll talk about a little bit later. But when you see how impressive and well implemented parades are, those two things start to make a bit more sense. Basically, it works as a track ride with extra mechanics. You can place a track over path. It does generate that little path border that we have. It'd be interesting to see whether we can remove that by turning on and off curbs and foundations, but it may just be something we have to deal with. The floats themselves are very plain. It is just a small, low-to-the-ground metal frame with little wheels on it. Very customizable. There are 3 variants. There's a smaller piece, a larger piece, and then 2 small pieces that move in tandem so that you can do floats with sort of bridges across. A couple of the examples here, like the slides on Queen Splash's one. So you haven't got to build that out of 2 separate floats and hope that they always sort of stay together, because they will sort of move slightly independently once they're on the track and they're getting going. So once you've got down the basic frame, you can add scenery to it. There is a full section in the game now called Parade Scenery. It is separate to Small Town. I'm unsure of the numerical breakdown between the two. They said that there are hundreds for both. but then they advertise the pack as having 300 plus scenery pieces like usual. So I don't really know what the full breakdown is yet. Again, there will be a full scenery breakdown on the channel as soon as I can bring it to you. The parade scenery is large, ostentatious pieces, all based around the core themes of the game. So there's big crab claws for aquatic, there's some dragon bones for Viking. It all looks really great. It's also optionally emissive, meaning it can light up at night. There's a small symbol on the menu pieces to show whether or not they're emissive or not. But I think it's worth pointing out here that any scenery can be parade scenery, and any parade scenery can be used outside of parades as well. It's all just still scenery as you would imagine using it in the game, and the floats are built just like you would add scenery to a coaster car or a track ride like you can already do in the game now. So whilst the parade scenery is designed to go with the parades, it's large over-the-top pieces that can glow in the dark. You just know that we're going to be using it all interchangeably. Once you've got all the scenery built onto the parade, you can add an entertainer point. There is a standing version and a walking version, and once you place those down, you can select an entertainer from the list, and the list will be populated by all the entertainers you have access to. So all of the base game ones, then if you already have the sorcery pack, Vesper will appear. If you already have the toy box pack, Max Stormcloud will appear. This isn't an actual instance of the entertainer. They don't have to make their way to the parade when it's time. They just sort of randomly appear. But they're not like an animatronic. They act like an entertainer. They walk around. It's sort of like a midway in between entertainers and animatronics, I guess. They are instant versions of them that don't care about staff breaks and things like that, but then they're also not static like a animatronic is. Once you place them down, you can then select their animation. You can have them waving, jumping around. There's one that's like miserable. So you can really get some narrative into these floats if you want to as well. It's really good. You can also add the entertainers and regular staff to the ground to walk alongside the floats as like a safety measure, or you can have rows of them that can be added in between the floats. This is a really neat feature, but it is one area I would like to have seen fleshed out a bit more. So far you can only select the entertainers or a generic staff member. They just look like a store worker. But I would love to have seen normal staff, for want of a better word, but in themed costumes as an option. If you think about the breaks in between parade floats, you'll get like a group of dancing girls, or the prince and princesses dancing in the princess parade, or the iconic grave diggers from the Boo to You parade. I would never expect full dance routines in here, but it would be nice to be able to just say, place down 3 or 4 cowgirls and cowboys, and they sort of move around and wave before you get to the Western parade float or something like that. Frontier aren't one for going back and adding in additional features to features in the game once they move on to something else, so I don't necessarily see this being likely, but I'm going to give you the good and the bad here. Parades are incredibly well implemented, but this is the feature I would like to have seen fleshed out a bit. But moving on to other great stuff though, each float can have a piece of music attached to it, but you don't necessarily have to attach speakers to it. I think you can, as far as I know, but it will automatically make speakers nearby it play that music as it rides past. So this is, I believe, quite realistic in how these things work in real life. There are some parades that will have the music come from the float itself, but a lot of the regular parades at larger budget parks, the music is tied in and they use like a GPS system to change the music playing out of speakers as they move past. This is a really neat feature. As we speak, I am talking to Meanderville's composer Alex, as he has some sort of like firework music ideas that I'm wondering if we can shift into parade music. I think that could be really exciting. And then once you've got your parade all built up, you can then schedule it at set hours, or you can just set it to go off a number of times per day and the game will work it out. Either way, 10 in-game minutes before the parade is due to start, guests will make their way to the track area and gather alongside the edges of it. So it isn't just them moving out of the way like the update 10 train tracks seem to work. They actually are aware that there's a parade. They will stand either side of it. They will watch it go back. They will clap and the cheer. And if they have the new flags or the light up ones from Just a Memento that comes with free update number 10, they will wave them around. This is not a track ride with scenery options. This is a fully blown new mechanic that is incredibly well implemented, and I am absolutely psyched to see what people come up with it. I can't wait to start working on my own. I've even been in Meanderville this last week, sort of changing the path layout a little to make a parade work in that space. I'm excited to share that with you. Stay tuned on the channel for that. But as well as all of that, we still get the 5 rides that we've come to expect in a Planet Coaster DLC. Now, there are 2 flat rides, 2 coasters, and a transport ride. The first flat ride is called the Jumping Disc and is their version of a Tagada, I think it's pronounced. These are sort of smaller and slightly more family-friendly versions of something like a Gravitron. Isn't quite playing into the centripetal force thing. Whilst it does spin, it also sort of rocks up and down. I will say that the guests sitting it a lot better than they do in real life. If you go and see any videos of these things, people are falling all over the place. Turns out Planet Coaster peeps all have death grip. But it's small, it's slightly family friendly, and it's very plainly themed. Exactly what we're looking for in flat rides, as is the next one that I'm very excited about, the Little Dipper, which is a family drop tower. There's lots of different versions of this. This one to me looks very similar to Moses' family drop tower, but if you think of any sort of like frog hopper or anything like that you've seen in various parks, this kind of fits that bill. Whilst they showed this off to us, they actually noted that the community has been asking for family rides, for smaller rides, for stuff that everyone can ride, and this is a direct answer to that. I hope they keep providing us direct answers. I am starting to get to the point now where I wouldn't mind a rides pack, honestly. I'm always very much focused on the scenery, but I feel like we have so much great stuff right now. I would love to see that fleshed out with a selection of flat rides. There's still so many sort of smaller stuff we're missing, like troikas, elephant rides, balloon rides, lots of stuff that could get fleshed out there. Moving on to the coasters then. The first of all was teased in the update video. This is the HPC Buzzard, the Planet Coaster version of the RMC Raptor. This is a single rail coaster that is very highly requested. I don't think this ever actually made it into Planet Coaster 1. There was one called the T-Rex that was much wider. This seems to have a much smaller profile of track, just like the one in real life. And to my keen idiot eyes, it seems to be very well implemented. I'm no coaster guy, really. I enjoy riding them, but other than that, I don't really know what I'm looking at. I'm sure some of the more coaster-focused channels will tell you whether this is actually good or not, but to me, it looks pretty solid. As does the other one, the V&N Narrow Drop, which is a B&M dive coaster with 4 seats across. So a smaller variation of one that's already in the game. This, I believe, is more of the original version in real life, and then they got to the larger trains a little later. But if you're looking to make something closer to Oblivion at Alton Towers or Baron 1898 at Efteling, this is going to be the model you want to use with that smaller train footprint. It also has a splashdown section, which is pretty neat. It does suffer a little bit from the problem that a lot of splashdown sections in the game do, like the ones from the water rides, in that the angle of entry is a little steep, but it's still a nice addition, and I think both of those coasters are great adds to the lineup. And then the last ride is a transport ride, the Electric Trolley, an absolute classic Main Street staple, which takes full advantage of the ability to now add transport rides to path and have guests move out the way of it. This looks beautiful. They always seem to show it off in this blue color. I think if you knock this down into some nice deep reds, it's just going to look absolutely classic. And I'm hoping we can attach scenery to it as well. You could have some little sort of advertising banners along the top of it. Oh, I think it's beautiful. I'm not sure whether I can retrofit this into Meanderville, and I think it might take too much work to try and make that work alongside parades, which is a shame because I would really love to add this in. I think this is gorgeous. So there you go, 5 rides, a full scenery theme in Small Town, and then the huge addition of parades, an absolutely fantastic new feature that I really think adds a lot to the game. But with this being the biggest DLC they've ever put out for the game, it is also the most expensive. I think there's an extra sort of $5 or so to £2 or £3. The rates seem to change massively depending on where you are in the world, but I think the consensus is that this is a little bit more expensive than it used to be. Personally, I am fine with it. I think it's going to work out at about $25 Canadian. Yesterday, I went and got 2 soups and sandwiches for lunch for me and Ali, and it was $28. If we go to the cinema, it's sort of $60, $70 by the time we've got tickets and some popcorn. And personally, I'm easily going to sink 50, 60, 70 hours into this. But I'm also in what I'm aware is a very privileged position of having some disposable income, and the expenditure on that pack then generating me revenue because I make YouTube. And let's be honest, I'm most likely going to send a key for this from Frontier as part of their advertising campaign. So I do understand that I'm in a bit of a privileged position when it comes to the price of this kind of stuff. So all I will say is that only you know whether this is worth it for you. Obviously, there will be lots of videos come out around its release showing off all of these features in more detail and a little bit more honestly, for want of a better word, because we'll actually have had our hands on it to play around with it rather than just be shown a relatively curated look at it from the developers. But as it stands, I personally think this is well worth it. I think it's a great addition to the game. I was actually a big fan of the Sorcery Pack personally. Toy Box wasn't really my thing, but this is absolutely a home run as far as I'm concerned. An incredibly well developed and much needed scenery theme, an amazing new feature that I don't think I've seen in any theme park game before. It may well have happened. Maybe RCT3 had parades. I don't remember them, but certainly the first time we're seeing it in the modern iteration of these games. Some smaller, less themed flat rides as we've been asking for. A very popular coaster that's being asked for. I don't think you can look at this pack and not think it's a home run. Call me a Frontier shill. I don't care. I'm excited to play with parades. Keep it here on the channel for more updates as soon as I can bring them to you. As always, we will be doing our scenery overview, so if you're not already, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss that. Throw a like on this video, it really does help. Thanks for watching, love you all to bits. Till the next one, be good.